we have your back. You're taking out narco-terrorists in our hemisphere. On behalf of the American people, we're sinking drug boats and deterring the poisoning of the American people. We will always have our military leadership's back.
Wiping out narco-terrorism, a mission led by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth right there. Stunning new chopper footage showing the U.S. Coast Guard seizing more than 20,000 pounds of cocaine located in the eastern Pacific Ocean. Let's see this video play out here. It's absolutely credible. And the latest boat destroyed earlier this week now makes it more than 22 alleged drug boats destroyed by our military. All right, yet Democrats want Hegseth removed from following the decision to double tap a boat back on September 2nd. We'll talk about this more. All right, let's bring in our guest here, Stefano Ritondale, Derek Maltz. Stefano Ritondale, Chief Intelligence Officer. Also with us, Derek Maltz, again, former acting DA administrator, Senior VP of PenLink. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Stefan, let's start off with you. So Pete Hegseth, now you have the Democrats accusing him of a war crime, but now we also learn there's multiple reports coming out that those so-called survivors, those fishermen, right? They like to say that they were just fishing. They climbed back into the boat to salvage the drugs. This is according to multiple reports. So in your estimation, is Pete Hegseth guilty of a war crime?
So first, thank you so much for having me. I think it's clear that a lot of the controversy happened on this first strike, and we haven't necessarily seen reporting of a double strike. I think a lot of this will open up to, as you mentioned, investigations to see what happened on. I think a lot of the details are still murky. We did see in the beginning, it did seem like there was a double strike and they were survivors. Now we're getting conflicting reporting that maybe the boat was still active and they were trying to go on. I think there's going to probably Congress is going to launch an investigation, but for now, a lot of these strikes are going to continue, and we'll see how that kind of continues in the next couple of weeks or months, specifically looking at Venezuela.
You know, Derek, obviously President Trump, he's doing all of this, right? Because he says he wants to stop the drug poisonings happening across our nation. And it's not just people overdosing over 100,000, right? It's not just that. What we are seeing is people addiction. The way it's gripped people across this nation is incredible. Your thoughts on what the president is doing? And Joe Biden himself, back in the 80s, he had said that we should go after the narco terrorists. President Trump campaigned on this. And yet now he's getting criticized for this, and they're saying he is a dictator, he's violating international law, and he's committing murder.
Lydia, thanks for having me again. Number one, Venezuela has provided a safe haven for over two decades to these terrorists that are sending, deadly drugs into America around the world. So this is a game changer. Mr. Maduro and his regime, they're going to be eliminated. This administration, led by President Trump, is actually doing exactly what they promised the American public. Maduro took advantage, wide open border for 4 years. He flooded the country with the TDA monsters, and he flooded the country with deadly drugs. Look behind me. Look at the little babies on my right shoulder here. Secretary of State, for example, Marco Rubio, has said that flooding the streets with drugs in America that are killing citizens, it's a form of terror. These are terrorists, so they must be decimated, they must be destroyed, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. This is finally like a real drug war, Lydia. This is actually using the tools of national power to decimate the enemy.
Stefano, let's talk about Maduro. President Trump has warned him, stay and die, leave and you could survive. What do you think about Maduro's involvement in this? And now he's, singing and dancing and trying to claim that he's innocent, and how this is all kind of connected, because where you have Venezuela, you often have Russia. Where you have Russia, you have China. It's a domino effect.
No, and I think that's a very important piece. So I'll address your second point first. I mean, from a geopolitical sense, clearly the loss of Maduro and the Chavez regime in Venezuela would be a huge loss for Russia. We've already seen them very constrained because of Ukraine. They obviously weren't able to save their much more important ally, Bashar al-Assad. So Nicolas Maduro is by himself, and obviously that would be a loss for Russia and China as a whole. And more importantly, Iran, that we do know there's a deep level of connection with Maduro and Iran. And then looking at from the drug piece for Maduro, Look, President Trump has made it abundantly clear that he does not want Maduro to stay in power any longer. Maduro has been very successful of drawing out any process. He's been very able to make sure that he stays in power as long as possible. I think the employment of military force and the significant deployment we've seen in the Caribbean Sea is a clear message, much more to Maduro to say your time is up, you need to leave. And more importantly, with his loss and his removal, we have to look at other aspects of the Maduro regime, such as Padrino, the Minister of Defense, or Diosdado, the Minister of Justice and Peace and Interior, who are also key figures in the Cartel de los Soles that was declared a foreign terrorist organization. So I think that regime days are numbered, and we'll see exactly how they're removed. The question is when, not if.
And Derek, 30 seconds to you. What do you think about what the Trump administration is doing here? Do you think President Trump is ultimately saving lives?
Absolutely. What they need to do now, though, Lydia, is they need to put the same sense of urgency on the demand side. The kids are addicted all over the country. We have to get on the social media reels, and we have to push out messages, teach them about these poisonous substances. This is not grandpa's opioid crisis. This is a war that we're in. It's a chemical war. China's fingerprints are all over it. So we have to have the same sense of urgency, but we are saving lives, sending a powerful message. Operation Southern Spear was initiated to decimate these terrorists, and it's going to take some time, but I'm very pleased with the progress.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.